Hello, Ryan from Stablecroft. Okay, I've got another video for you guys. It's New Year's Eve. I've just had a handsome young puppy been dropped off to me this morning for a 2-week board and train. His name's Barney. We spent the morning having lots of fun. Yeah, nothing too hard just yet. Good. I just needed to get to know him really before we started any sort of hardcore training. He's confident, he's extremely clever, he's 15 weeks old, so he's here for his crucial socialisation window. Just a lot going on in his household, so this was a fantastic option for them to really get him to where they want him to be, for us to help straighten him out. Some young kids in the household as well, so a few little issues. There's quite a lot of biting going on, not a great deal of impulse control. Good. So he's here to learn a lot about calmness, also to learn a bit of bite inhibition and recall as well, and there's a few other things mixed in there, but those are the 3 big ones, and it really boils down to, you know, come, be still and have good manners. Those are the 3 things that we really work on with any puppies that come to us, either for daycare or for board and train. That is really the core of everything. Every behaviour we teach really comes back to those 3 things. Good. So about 5 or 10 minutes before I press the record button, I've just been trying to work out what tricks Barney knows, and it turns out he knows a few. He knows his sit, he knows paw, and his eye contact is pretty damn good. Barney was in our puppy classes. Unfortunately, they've been postponed, hence the videos for you guys. So I'm going to teach you guys a couple of things. Try and get your dog to go to their bed, okay? But not just going to the bed, kind of understanding how to train it so they're calm. Barney here is very food motivated. Good. Which makes mine and Barney's owners' lives very easy. But you know, if you're training, go to your bed with food, sometimes dogs can get quite frustrated, particularly if the food's on show, and you know, you're trying to teach them to settle and actually doing the polar opposite. So this is when the timing of your marker is imperative, okay? Settle is working on their emotional state, and go to your bed is a behaviour. 2 different things. It's important you understand. You know, training, sometimes we spend a great deal of time working on what they're doing as opposed to how they're feeling, okay? Really important to teach a dog to go to their bed or to settle. You're instilling calm. You're on cue, you know, if you teach them to do it when you ask, it's extremely helpful. Good. It's extremely helpful, particularly you know, if you've got visitors. It's rather than maybe having them jump up if you haven't got as far to teach them how to behave with new people. At least you can teach them to go to their bed as an alternative behaviour, so they don't get in trouble. If you reinforce the hell out of this vet bed we're using at the minute, that becomes their safe space. That little piece of vet bed, you can chuck it in their crate, you can chuck it in the boot of the car, you can chuck it on top of the veterinary table. It's a recognised safe space that they've had lots of positivity happen around it. You know, anytime that they're feeling anxious, be it, you know, fireworks, you've got the builders in, people are raising their voices in the house, little things. If they're not feeling safe, at least you've shown them, you've given them a coping mechanism, you've given them a safe place. Many benefits, but those are the 2 big ones. Okay, so, little man, we can do some training. Good. I mean, he's already worked me out, but again, like I say, he is very food motivated. And you can almost see that he gets borderline frustrated if the food doesn't come often enough, particularly when he feels like he's doing exactly what I've asked of him, which he has. So this is when your marking is softer rather than, you know, overexcited. Maybe when you're trying to do agility with your dog or something along those lines, when you're really trying to amp them up. This is polar opposite. I mean, this is perfect. Good. See what I mean? He settled then. I said good softly. okay, and I went down with the food, he came up to meet me. Okay, I came down slowly because I'm not trying to excite him, but food really excites him. Okay, so this is what I'm trying to explain. Okay, so those of you who've done the puppy classes and you did week 1, you'll have learned a release cue. A release cue is essentially you're releasing them from their current position or behaviour, and they can go and be free. Let's say you called them in to heel and you say free or go, they can go off and sniff and be a dog. They're basically off duty. So if we've asked him to go to his bed and he knows a release cue, which might be go or free, those are the two most people use, he then knows he's got to wait for something. Very beneficial to teach a dog a release cue, but that's another video. So I'm going to be using a release cue, I'm going to be using free, okay? So every time he's on the bed, I'm going to reinforce softly, okay? And then I'm going to use the release cue to get him off, and then I'm going to use the first training method, which is going to be just luring him. So with a piece of food, I'm going to lure him onto the bed. As I say, bed, once he's there, and he's settled, not just once he's there, once he's settled, and you can kind of get this from his body language, okay? You know, sat on his bum, breathing, okay? That's when I'm going to mark softly, and he's going to get the food. All right? So, give it a go. Bed. Good. He was trying to mug my hand there. I could have very easily said good whilst he had 4 feet on the bed, but he was mugging me at that point. Good. And if he stays there, nice and slowly, nice and slowly, good. That's it. Okay, and then release cue to get off. Free. That's it. You wait until he's found the food. Barney, bed. He's mugging me again. Good. Now Barney doesn't know down, otherwise I would be now asking for a down, because in an ideal world that's the end goal, is to say bed, he goes to the bed and he lays down. He doesn't know down just yet, that's another video, but we will get there, okay? So that's one way to get them on the bed, okay? And then you begin adding duration in between the treats as they come, okay? Longer and longer and longer, and then eventually you want to add some distance, so I would be sort of over here. Good. And then you go and reinforce. So you begin adding distance, okay? So duration first, then distance, and then distraction. I could then put the tumble dryer on, for example, or the washing machine, or I could be playing some sort of music in the background, okay? But you start in a position, in a situation like this, an environment like this, really boring, okay? Not just really boring, but he's also had quite a lot of exercise today. He's in a really sort of malleable mindset, okay? He's quite tired, so he's really willing to do this kind of work. Okay, we will begin pulling this kind of training earlier into the day, so we begin training him when he's less likely to want to do it, but now we're instilling the patterns, okay? Good. So this brings me on to the second method that we're going to be using, okay? So I just did it then. So he was just freely moving around the kitchen, and then all of a sudden he walked onto the mat. Okay, I didn't ask him to, he just went on there. Maybe because there's some dropped food on there, maybe because he's beginning to have more of a positive association with this vet bed, okay? So the moment he walked on there, I just calmly marked. So you might do it again, hopefully. Here we go. Good. Okay, so this is more of a passive way of training him to go there, okay? He's kind of doing it himself. You know, if your dog really, you know, isn't that interested in the bed, you could use a sheet that's maybe 4, 5, 6 times bigger, and then as using that technique, you could then begin to fold the sheet up so it's much smaller, but gradually, okay, to the point where it is appropriate to your dog. Good. So tomorrow we'll be teaching the down and then revisiting this in the evening and trying to get it to a down, and then hopefully to the point where I can walk off, come back, and then we'll get some stuff going on in the background. Good. So another thing that you can be doing, which I would highly recommend that you do, especially whilst your dog's young, is I would have pots of treats dotted around the house, and any time that you see them voluntarily just relaxing, laying down, be it in the middle of the kitchen, they just begin to lay down, I would then calmly mark softly, grab a treat, and I'd stick it just between their paws, okay? What you're doing is you're marking and reinforcing them settling, okay? You haven't said anything, you haven't done anything, all you've done is mark and reward them for settling. Now initially, particularly puppies, they're going to take that piece of food and they're going to get up and follow you, okay? Totally natural. But you just need to show them you've got nothing and go about your business. But eventually, good. Eventually, if you do it enough times, if you catch them just relaxing, they'll begin to understand that, oh, it's settling that causes positive things to happen, and before long you'll notice that your dog is beginning to settle a bit more, okay? You're essentially showing them how to relax, which is extremely helpful for anxious dogs. Good. Not necessarily on the bed, but he's laying at my feet. And what he's not doing is jumping up, begging for the food. He's now able to settle in the company of food because I'm sort of capturing, that's a training technique, it's capturing his behaviour. I see him settling, he's not aware, he's not focusing on the food. I will mark when I see him settling, I'm capturing that behaviour, I'm almost taking a picture of it. I always sort of consider the marker word as a camera. You're taking the picture of the best behaviour that you want. Okay, guys, it's New Year's Eve, I'm going home. Have a great New Year, and I'll see you in the next video. All the best.